Howdy, howdy, howdy. I think we're live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of y'all. December 21st. Can you believe it? We're right up there. We got Christmas right around the corner, and then we're going into 2021. I'm so excited. I'm ready for a new year to happen. Whole hopefully not quite as crazy as 2020's been, right? But yeah, we're right here at the end of it. But before we finish up, before we get into Christmas, before we get into the new year, we got another episode of Cliff Notes Live. I am so glad y'all are right here. Thank you for that. Let me start off the show as I always do while we wait for a few other people to come in and say, SKD 143, I love my wife. I love my kids. I love all the other fans of Big Brother. The Big Brother family is incredible. Thank y'all for the support. Thank y'all for coming out here. For those of you who've been out here in past episodes, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. For those of you who are out here for the first time, welcome aboard. We're trying to make this as interactive as possible. So any questions y'all have, any issues, anything you want to talk about, just throw them out there. I'm going to try to keep up with the comments as we get along. And we'll just see where this hour takes us. I've got a few things I was going to potentially talk about, but yeah, I'm pretty open tonight. We'll see what y'all want to do as well. Let's see. As I go through here quick, Carl Johnson, Anthony Stike, Angie, Megan, Horse Feathers, 4147. Yeah, it's up to you, Horse Feathers. Well, a little bit. We'll talk. I mean, we're going to talk about the challenge, Amazing Race. We'll talk about Christmas, some of the stuff that you would expect. But hey, I'm pretty open, as I said. Howdy, Alpha Cat. And yeah, a lot of topics. Yeah, you're right, Megan. Pretty much. Hey, I ramble about all kinds of stuff. The big issue, Horse Feathers. Once you get me on a topic, get me on to another topic. Sometimes you got to kind of prod me along at times. That's what my wife says, but that's okay. We'll do that as well. Premieres weren't working earlier for me. Let's see. Howdy, Cliff. Howdy, everyone at Cross Track. Welcome, welcome. All right. Waiting for 2021. Yeah, I think we're all in that position. It's quite a crazy year. I went through 2019. I tried out for Big Brother in February or so, into February. So really from March until I got out of the house in September. What a crazy 2019. You think, how can anything be quite as wild as my 2019 was? And yet 2020, just a whole different kind of wild. And unfortunate. Instead of just 16 people inside that Big Brother house, it's a whole world that got to go through this particular experience. But hey, we've almost made it through the other side. The vaccines are coming out now, and so yeah, we're gonna be all right. Horse Feathers, I remember you from Big Brother. Well, good, thank you. I appreciate that, Horse Feathers. Thanks for coming on board. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my claim to fame. I've done other things, but in terms of being on national TV and giving speeches in front of, I don't know, million, how many people watch Big Brother live? I don't know, several million or whatever. Yeah, it's funny. There are people on that show that were so worried about giving those speeches just because they knew how many people were watching and everything else. I think for me, it just was so surreal. It's like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to act like I'm talking to Julie. I'm talking to my family out there. I'm not going to worry about those other 3,999,000 people or whatever. But some people really got nervous about the idea that so many people were watching us while we're in there. Emma Vincent, hey, shout out to Emma Vincent. Hey, Emma, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on board as well, and thank you for cheering me on. I do appreciate that. Ma saying I watched the Old Town Road video for like 15 minutes straight after going off the air. It is so funny, Old Town Road, because I was told before I went in the house, you better watch this. I think it says last week. Everyone said you better watch it because you're wearing a hat. You're going to be in that house. Someone's going to bring up Old Town Road, and I'm so glad I did. So yeah, I'm not the only one that was kind of the cowboy that particular summer. Now, what was I? Carl, good to see you as well. So as we get going, I got a few topics, and we'll talk about some others as well. But I always like to start this with today in history or national celebrations today. We got some fun ones today that I want to throw out. A few trivia questions, a few other things as well. First of all, today, I guess we have to start Winter Solstice Day, December 21st. The official beginning of winter, also the shortest, I always say the shortest day, but actually it's still 23 hours and 59 minutes or whatever. But the shortest amount of daylight occurs on December 21st if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And Felt like it. It gets dark here so quick. I don't know what it's like for y'all a little further up north. Angie up in Canada, some of y'all are even closer. I know it must get dark early, early, early in the evening for y'all in the wintertime. Not quite as much down here, but yeah. So welcome to winter. And this is well, I say this is the time of year I'm really happy to be a Texan. I'm happy to be a Texan 365 days out of the year. That's just the way we are. But during the summertime, when it's 100 degrees down here and the humidity is about 99.9%, you kind of question the weather down here and what you go through. But right now, it's winter time. I watch Sam Smith for my season. He's up there running his snow blower and just snow covered everywhere. They're up to their knees in snow. I put up my Christmas lights last week. I did it in shirt sleeves and a pair of shorts. It's like 70 degrees down here. We've had a few spots where it's been a little chilly, but for the most part, this is our payoff for all that hot we had in the summertime. We get pretty decent, reasonable weather. And then we get some ice storms down here in Houston and all. It's not as though we don't have any cold weather. It's just not nearly what y'all further up north have. And I will say this, when we get ice storms down here, you stay off the roads. Houston drivers cannot handle snow. We can barely handle the water, it seems like sometimes. But you get that ice up there, we got all these big SUVs and these big old trucks and everything else. And I feel like the bigger the vehicle is, the faster you can go when you're going on ice. And I've seen too many accidents over the years through some of our ice storms. So you just stay off the ice if you're down here in Houston. But fortunately, we don't have to enjoy it too much down here in Houston. You remember what I said about talking and tending not to move on to the next topic quick enough? So I'm going to do that. So yeah, welcome to the first day of winter. Looking forward to it. So winter solstice day is upon us. Cross track, enjoying the break from humidity in Florida. Yeah, Florida's just like Texas are. We deal with it in the summer. We enjoy it in the winter time. So winter solstice day. Meanwhile, we've got another very special occasion for tomorrow. I'm happy for this one. Tomorrow, December 23rd, in case any of y'all weren't aware, is Festivus Day. Festivus for the rest of us. Yeah, it's a real holiday, or at least it is now. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar. I surely a lot of y'all have heard it. Maybe not everyone, but Festivus Day is tomorrow. So decorate your aluminum pole. Get ready for your airing of grievances, which you do after or during the dinner, and then feats of strength, wrestling with the head of the household afterwards. I think my family involved wrestling with Christmas and Thanksgiving for as long as I can remember. Maybe we were ahead of the curve when it came to Festivus, but we also air the grievances at dinner, and we don't do that. But that's part of the Festivus ceremony. Now, here's a trivia question for y'all, and Angie's kind of getting ahead on what I'm getting asked. Do y'all know where Festivus came from? Where it originated? I was wrong. I've spent the last few years thinking I knew, and I was absolutely wrong. For those of you who quickly are typing in saying Seinfeld, that's what I thought. But no, Festivus did not originate with the Jerry Seinfeld, the Seinfeld TV program. No, 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 no. It actually originated in 1966. Did you know that? The editor of Reader's Digest, who apparently his family was having some tension around the Christmas holidays in that particular year, said, you know what, I'm going to fix it. He came up with a whole new holiday that he called Festivus, which he set up all the rules and everything that we hear about nowadays on Festivus. He created this holiday in 1966, and it just happens to be that his son, one of his sons, was a writer for Seinfeld. And so when they started writing some episodes revolving around Christmas and everything, this writer, I picture him in the room saying, hey, my family has a special holiday that we celebrate that no one else does called Festivus. That would be really funny. And everyone else probably in the writer's room said, you got to be kidding. Really? This isn't just a sitcom joke. This is real. Yeah, yeah, it is real. And so they incorporated the Festivus holiday into the Seinfeld episode. And of course, then it took off from that point on. So there's your little bit of trivia for the deal. So happy Festivus, Merry Festivus. I'm not sure what the official term is. I haven't seen a lot of Festivus. They wouldn't be Christmas cards. They'd be Festivus cards, right? So yeah, but so enjoy your Festivus celebration, and we get Christmas a couple of days later. So you get to kind of share the wealth a little bit with everything. Anthony Carl Johnson, what is snow? Haven't seen much of that stuff yet. So yeah, The same here. No snow. We've had snow once or twice during Christmas, but that's over a 20-year period. So Hayden, asking the coldest place that I have ever been. Uh, well, you know what? Russia was. Uh, Russia was. I'm sitting here wondering a little bit. Russia, Moscow in the wintertime was cold. But that's the way you want to see Moscow, just like Dr. Zhivago, that old movie, and the way you expect it. I'm standing on Red Square with just the snow coming in everywhere. All the Russians are wearing those bundled up fur hats and everything. It was really a cool way to explore Russia. Uh, so Moscow was cold, but the coldest place I've ever been, Hayden, has to be Dead Horse, Alaska. Now, if the town that you're going to is called Dead Horse, that's usually a good sign that it's not exactly the tourist hotspot of the world. And Dead Horse was certainly not that. Dead Horse is kind of the oil town up on the very north slope of Alaska. So it's way up there. Just a few miles. I went. I actually saw the Arctic Ocean. It was frozen over while I was up there. But yeah, Dead Horse is the oil field town for Prudhoe Bay for the north slope of Alaska. And I went up there late January, I think, and was up there for 6 weeks or so doing some training. Well, when I flew to Dead Horse, first thing, I got on a 747 in Anchorage. I thought, my gosh, how can a plane this big be traveling to Dead Horse? Or that many people having to go to Dead Horse? No. This was a cargo plane. The whole 747 was nothing but oil field equipment, tubing, things like that, except for that one little bubble of a 747 that holds maybe 20 seats or so. That part was for passengers. Everything else was just all equipment and everything else. So I flew to Dead Horse. I landed. I didn't realize I landed right in the middle of a Category 3 blizzard. Couldn't see anything in front of you. It was the most miserable, brutal storm I've ever seen. I just almost didn't get off the plane. I got off the plane. They took me to the little residence place where we stayed, a bunch of mobile kind of trailer homes attached one to the other, the base camp. And while I was up there, it was the most depressing thing. This was before the day and age of cell phones and all that. Every day, if you wanted to know the temperature, you could call the airport, and they had the weather station at the airport that would report the temperature. And I don't know why they did it. I don't know why I actually called in, because every morning I would call in and say, "Good morning, Dead Horse temperature is minus 42 degrees." That isn't wind chill. That's just straight up regular old temperature. Add in a little wind blowing, and what, minus 50, minus 60. I don't know. Once it gets that cold, does it really matter if it's a few degrees colder or not? It's just brutally cold. I was up there having to do jobs, and a lot of them were 24-hour jobs. I'd sit out in the truck, watch equipment being run for 24 hours straight. And in the middle of the night, and of course, during the wintertime, we didn't get any sunshine at all. The sun would come up for 15, 20 minutes, just low on the horizon. It looked like it was getting ready to rise, and it'd go away again because we're so far north. But I'd be sitting there having to monitor this stuff, and it's cold outside. You've got the heater going on inside. You're drinking lots of coffee to try to stay awake. Well, the problem is you drink a lot of coffee. You have to make a few little pit stops every once in a while. And you don't want to do that when it's minus 60 degrees. That was kind of brutal. So we had to balance everything else, everything off in terms of drinking and staying warm and everything else. All the guys worked up there, all had beards and everything. And just the vapor from their breathing, their whole beard would just look like a snowman or something, just covered in ice and snow. So uh, that's the long answer, Hayden. It was incredibly cold up there, brutally cold, and I don't know. Because I've worked in some cold environments over the years, I'm not a huge fan of the cold weather situations now, unless I'm snow skiing, and then I'll make an exception. Which is why when I'm watching the challenge this year, I don't know how many of y'all are watching the challenge, but the challenge is taking place in Iceland. As soon as they mentioned it was in Iceland, I immediately said, "Oh, this is going to be horrible." They're not going to be sitting there in bathing suits on the beach in Iceland. They're going to be swimming with the seals and the icebergs and all that. And we already saw a little bit of that in the second episode. They had to actually swim out to a boat, grab blocks of ice, drag them back, break them open with some pickaxe kind of things to get some little capsules out. And all I could think is, oh, I think I would just go halfway out and I would just freeze. I'd probably, I'm like a walrus. I'd probably float on the surface, but I think my limbs would just freeze up. I'd be like the Tin Woodman without without enough oil once I was out there, and someone would have to just float me back in along with that cube of ice because I don't handle cold water well at all, and that looked brutal. So yeah, that was hard. Yeah, Ma, 60 degrees below zero, -60. It was tough. All right, I'll tell you one quick story involving that I always laugh about, and then we'll move on to something else. So cold up there, and we had one guy. You have to plug in your vehicles, and Angie, I think you're probably familiar with this, and others that are further north. You have to plug in your vehicles overnight, keep the motor block warm, or you'll never get it started the next morning. That's just the way it is. And we had one guy who was driving his company vehicle. He pulls up to the post office. He gets out of the car. He plugs in his motor to the little electrical outlet that goes along the side of the post office to keep it warm. He goes inside. He takes care of his business and all that. He comes back out. Well, unfortunately, he didn't realize that where he had plugged in his engine motor block, that plug was bad. Something had happened to it. Fuse had gone out. So it actually hadn't heated up his vehicle the way he thought it should have, or it was supposed to, which meant that the engine shut down. The inside of his vehicle immediately dropped to -50, -60 degrees, whatever, as well. Well, he had that polyvinyl seats, not leather, not cloth or anything else. He had that kind of slick plastic type seats. As soon as he sits down in his seat, because it's so cold, as he sits down, he just hears and the leather, the plastic or the seating around him cracked and formed a complete outline of his body where he had sat down because it was so cold it made that seating brittle. So as soon as he sat down, he just created an outline, and he had that for the whole next year or two until they traded in that vehicle because they couldn't drive it all the way down to Anchorage to get it fixed. And so everyone gave that guy the hardest time because you could tell the outline where he had sat where it was so cold. So yeah, it's pretty cold. All right, let's see. Cross tracks 5.5, 5 feet half inch. Angie saying, yeah, that seems like a lot of snow. Again, unless I'm on snow skis and not any of that cross country stuff. I watched the Norwegians and stuff in the Olympics where they're just cross country skiing. That looks brutal as well. I want the stuff where I start at the top of the hill and I can just kind of coast as though I was on a skateboard or something. That's kind of skiing I like to do. Yeah, Megan saying I have no idea how they swam in that water on the challenge. I don't either. And there was one guy, is it Mechi? I think, and he got stuck halfway through. He just said he couldn't move anymore. He couldn't breathe or anything else. The medics had to pull him back on shore and get him treated. And I sympathize. I empathize completely with him. I mentioned I do a little recap for those of you who aren't familiar. I do a recap of the challenge every episode, and my first two episode recaps are out there on YouTube, so y'all can find it. I mentioned on that one, I said, I think if I was doing that challenge, I'd swim out there once because you have to. I'd grab the block of ice, I'd get my little kill cylinder, which you use to try to eliminate other people, and then I would just stand by my little platform and say, "Don't you dare put anything in mine, because if you do, I'm going to put it in yours." And I would do everything possible to keep from ever having to swim out in that water again, because once is enough. It just looks brutal to me. But hey, made for fun TV as well, didn't it? Dead horse in a blizzard. Yeah, that was as bad as it gets, Hayden. All right, let's see. Oh, Angie, damn! Now I'm seeing the 5 foot half inch. I thought y'all were talking about snowbanks and things like that. That's what I get for not reading all of the comments. All right, let's see. As I go through real quick. No idea how they swim the challenge. I mean, neither. Let's see. How did someone from America's Got? Yeah, Megan, absolutely. How did America's Got Talent? We got a guy, Joseph, and I don't want to give a lot of spoilers or anything else because I don't know that all of y'all have seen it, so I'm not going to do that. Joseph is a newbie this season. He's from America's Got Talent, and he's not like a martial arts ultimate fighter that did amazing breaking 100 bricks with his elbow or anything like that that maybe would get on a challenge. I think he's a singer, and I've heard he's an amazing singer, but that's not going to win you a lot of challenges on the challenge TV show. So yeah, Joseph seems like a little bit out of his element with some of the cutthroat people that we have in that house. So yeah, but it's fun watching them. I mean, yeah, I always enjoy the challenge because they have so many people, and as a result, you get all kinds of different people, and that's part of what makes a challenge fun. So Lawrence Santiago saying, what's your favorite places in Asia? Oh, I you know what, Lawrence, I really don't have any that I haven't enjoyed. They're all so different. Beijing was fun just because it was different because it's communist China, and for a long time we didn't talk to them, and they didn't talk to us, and everything else. So that was interesting, just seeing the history in China. Tiananmen Square, the Forbidden City, the big pictures of Mao Zedong that we've always seen in the pictures and everything. Uh, there was incredible history to be seen in China, so that was neat. My favorite part of Asia, just in terms of being there and kind of wandering around and everything else, Kuala Lumpur was pretty cool. I've been there several times, and it's a big city, but there's a lot to see. They've got the Petronas Towers, and it's got a little bit of everything to see. I'll take that back. I almost maybe have another favorite, and that's Singapore. Singapore is a cool place to visit as well. They've got just a lot of stuff to see. I don't know. Asia's got a lot of different places, slightly different cultures and everything. And again, I've enjoyed every single one of them. Now, there's a few places like Jakarta, Indonesia, which is a fine place, but the traffic is just horrific. I don't ever want to have to put up with the traffic that they have there. So that makes it that a little more of a challenge when you're in Indonesia as compared to some of the other places. But I love Asia. I've visited all over, and I've loved every bit of it. Uh, Parker saying Joseph was a singer and got a golden buzzer on American. Okay, okay. I heard he was a singer. I don't watch that show as much, but I did hear he was a pretty good singer as well. But yeah, it's kind of funny that they got him on the show. And of all the people you could pick, uh, that would be cool. All right, Megan mentioning Hong Kong. Yeah, all right. Hong Kong is fun. I'll tell you a story on Hong Kong. I flew there on my birthday. I had to fly from the States to Hong Kong, which was I kind of got gypped on that because of the time zone differences. I only had about 12 hours worth of my birthday to celebrate, and it was all on an airplane. That's a little disappointing, but you do what you have to do. But I was only there for overnight, and then I had to take a ferry to Sheku and, uh, and do some work. So it was a quick trip into Hong Kong that first time. So they just put me up in a hotel. I didn't ask. I said, just wherever. I don't care. Just put me in a hotel. It's only overnight. So they put me in this hotel room. I check in. I go upstairs. It is the smallest room that I have ever had as a hotel room. For those of you who watch Big Brother, the boat room for my season, that was about the size of my entire hotel room, bathroom included. I had a bed that was up against one wall, had about this much space between the room, the wall, and the other side of the bed. The bathroom, you couldn't close the door. The toilet seat, they actually had to cut a little wedge in the door so that you could close the door so it didn't hit the toilet seat itself. The shower head was above the toilet seat, so you could shower. Kind of just make your way around the toilet part and have the shower right there. I mean, it's very small, which was kind of interesting. I got there by the time I actually checked in my hotel. It's 11:30 at night or so. I'm starving. I haven't had anything to eat, so I start wandering the streets of this part of Hong Kong looking for a restaurant. The only restaurant that's open is one it's actually a karaoke bar. And I go in there and I try to order some bar food. And after every song, they are wanting me to. I may have told this story before in here, but so sorry. Uh, After every song, they wanted me to go up and sing some karaoke. The old Cliff Hog, I was saying, nah, I just want to eat. I'm not going to get up there and sing. Nowadays, I've been on Big Brother. I've already embarrassed myself as much as I can. I would have been right up there singing along. I would have had every George Strait, Elvis Presley, every kind of song you could imagine. I would have been singing along and had a blast with the guys. But that night, I just wanted to eat and get ready for my work and everything else. But yeah, Hong Kong is a lot of fun. So thank you for pointing that out. Uh, let's see, Angie. Angie, you were born in Hong Kong. I think we mentioned that before because I think you said you speak some Cantonese, Chinese, right? I think you said that once before. Uh, yeah, Hong Kong's neat. I'd love to go back. I haven't. Every time I've been there, it's been very quick. It's just been in transit to Sheku, which is over in China. So I've never really gotten to explore the city. But it's huge. It's gigantic, and I got a few other stories I'll tell y'all some other day involving some travels. It was like my own Amazing Race episode in Hong Kong, and it kind of surprises me the Amazing Race doesn't go there more often nowadays than maybe they've been there before, but there's lots of things you could do to kind of screw up. Taking a ferry, uh, let me just, without going to the whole story, if you go to the wrong ferry terminal, you're quickly going to discover that your plans can be completely messed up when you realize that the ferries don't go where you thought they were going to go, and you don't know it until you're actually on the ferry. So I'll just leave that, and we'll that'll be a teaser for some other story, some other evening. How about? Yeah, Cantonese. Angie says I knew a buddy who was all proud of himself because he wanted to learn Chinese and he paid someone to teach him. He spent a year learning it, went over to China, and quickly realized that he had been taught Cantonese Chinese, which is spoken in Hong Kong. And he was up in Beijing, where I guess Mandarin Chinese is the standard, and didn't work nearly as well as he thought it would. But I guess he had fun in Hong Kong afterwards. Yeah, run my own Amazing Race, Bryce. Here's the thing. I may not ever get on Amazing Race. It'd be fun to do. I'd have a blast doing it. But even if I didn't, I would love for the producers of the Amazing Race to approach me. I could tell them some places that they probably have never thought of before, and give them some pretty reasonable, interesting ideas about tasks they need to do and things that could provide pitfalls for racers. 'Cause I've been through it all, and I could have a lot of fun as a travel consultant, giving them some ideas about where they need to head for some of the next seasons of the Amazing Race. Uh, they said Lawrence, Amazing Race with just Cliff would be fun. I think if it's just me, you probably call the show Lost instead of Amazing Race, because I've been lost a few times as well. But you know what? Even when I get lost, as long as there's not a gun pointing at me, I try to have fun doing it. And I try not to get too panicky. I learned a long time ago, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, things maybe aren't quite going your way in terms of travels and all of that. You can't panic too much. What, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the book, the guide that they have in that book and that movie, isn't that the word? Just don't panic. That's the way I've always treated traveling. Hey, yeah, you missed a flight. Yeah, you suddenly are surrounded by a lot of people that look like they're up to no good. You can't panic. You just have to figure out how to handle the situation, and you'll be okay most of the time if you do that. Uh, all right, let's see. Let me read some of these comments because I'm just talking along. Not Joshy P. I'm not watching the show again after this season. No, I don't want to hear that, Joshy. It's gonna. Here's the thing. I know, and someone. Oh, who asked the question? I'm gonna find it here in a second. Uh, about the Amazing Race. Did I think that the final leg was a little quick, a little bit weak? It was fast. They only did the whole last leg at night. I would have preferred maybe a 2 hour episode at the very end, and a lot more racing around and a lot more all encompassing challenges across the whole city of New Orleans. And yeah, I would have been okay with a little bit longer last leg of the race to finish it all up. But that's all right. The Philippines, I enjoyed that leg. It seems like they did a lot of what normally is the last leg of the race. They did it second to the last leg. But I know a lot of people complained that they didn't like the season because of the alliances that kind of made everything too predictable. They ganged up on the teams that weren't part of the alliance, and that's true. And I was a little disappointed in that as well. Uh, but I saw an article that the producers were talking about, and they said it's something that they think they need to fix going forward. And it may be something as simple as putting out a new rule saying you can't give answers to other team members. If you want to work together to U-turn certain people or whatever, that's part of the game. That's part of the strategy. I'm fine with that. But you can't tell someone else the answer when it's a word scramble or when you have to add up number or whatever the case may be. Everyone has to solve it on their own. Like one team member can't help another team member during a detour. One team can't give clues or answers to the other team as well. So don't give up on the Amazing Race, Joshy. We just had some teams that were really good this year, kind of broke the game a little bit because they worked so well in terms of alliances. I think that's going to change going forward. I'm curious post COVID exactly how the Amazing Race is going to work. Eventually this goes away, and then maybe it's easier to fly and everything else. But it just seems like it gets harder and harder year after year to go from one country to another without a lot of planning ahead of time and everything that's kind of not what the Amazing Race is about. So they'll have to adapt. But that shows it's 32 seasons. They've adapted a lot over the years and changed the way the game's played a little bit. They'll do it again. So don't give up on the show, Joshy, because I think it was um, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a little predictable at times. I still enjoyed it just because of all the cool places they go to. Yeah, I would have thought it was a rule already, Megan, but apparently not. Apparently, they never thought in the past that alliances would be so tight with each other that it was something they would have to worry too much about. But it just got a little bit worse this season compared to other past seasons. So they'll fix it. It's all right. Uh, COVID season was 8 for the Amazing Race Canada. Angie, you've mentioned Amazing Race. Some of y'all others have mentioned as well. Amazing Race Canada. I need to watch it. I need to find it online. and see how y'all handle racing around the country as well. And no different than us, I'm sure, but uh, going to a whole lot different spots and everything else. Angie's Amazing Race should be about the comps, not about alliances. I'll leave that for Big Brother. Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm okay with alliances in terms of, we won't put you up if you don't put us up, or we won't U-turn you if you don't U-turn us. Some of that stuff I think is acceptable, strategizing and everything else. It's just when you go to that next step to actually help with the competitions themselves, that's where I think they got to shut it down a little bit. Moss, and your kids watch with you? Yeah, they did. Now they're both out of the house now, and so they still watch, but not necessarily with Sharon and I. But yeah, back in the day when everyone was home, reality TV were the shows that we watched. Survivor, that was the first one that we as a family watched a lot of. We didn't watch Big Brother that much. Brother, especially with younger kids, you get a little more. Uh, y'all know what Big Brother's like. And it's not always as family friendly as Survivor or The Amazing Race. So we didn't necessarily watch Big Brother back then, but we watched Amazing Race. We watched Survivor. Oh, we watched a lot of I don't know. They had some reality shows on like Nickelodeon and some. You can't. I don't remember what it was, but we watched some of the ones that involved the kids as well. So we watched a lot of reality TV over the years, and we've done things in the past. We've had Big Brother fantasy leagues, within our family where we pick different players. We did the same thing with Survivor and all that. So yeah, we watch reality TV forever. Parker saying, "What shows are you watching right now?" All right, Parker, we just finished up with The Amazing Race. So I guess the big one right now I'm watching is a challenge. I'm going to be watching that. What else do we watch? I think I mentioned this before. We watched The Block, which is a TV show. It's actually in Australia. It's a home improvement show. 4 couples, 5 couples, each have a house or an apartment they have to redecorate. Every week they have to renovate a new room, build new walls, put in tiles, a complete renovation. And they get judged against each other. And at the end of the season, everyone sells their apartment complex or their apartment unit. And whoever sells it for the most money gets to keep a huge chunk of money plus $100,000, things like that. And it's a show in Australia that we found quite a few years back, and we watched it. Just got through with the last season of it in Australia, and discovered that there's also a version of The Block in New Zealand. So we're sitting here in Houston, Texas, watching a reality show that involves a whole lot of couples over on the other side of the world in New Zealand doing home renovation projects. So that's another show that we're watching, Parker. I mentioned last week The Stand on CBS All Access, which I'm so excited to watch. But only so many hours in the day, getting ready for Christmas and everything else, and just didn't really have a chance to watch it yet. Plus, they're dropping an episode every week, so I figure I'll give another week or two. And once Christmas is over, we'll sit down one weekend. We'll just binge the first 3 or 4 episodes. So I haven't seen The Stand yet, but I'm really excited about that. Now, the other thing I'm watching right now, Parker, that it's just kind of for a tradition before the Christmas holidays, is we've been watching all the Hallmark romance movies, or the romance movies on the Hallmark channel. Sharon loves them, and I watch them right alongside her. So far this season, I've seen a story about a woman who owns a Christmas tree farm and is getting ready to go bankrupt, but then she finds a guy that helps her, and they live happily ever after. Saw another one about a woman who owns a record store, and they're getting ready to shut down Christmas Tree Lane where the store is located. But she runs into an architect that happens to help her figure out a new way to renovate the block. And next thing you know, the street's saved, and they fall in love with each other. I saw one that involves a young woman who's the owner of a candy cane company, and she's getting pressured to switch from candy canes to chocolate until a guy comes in and helps save the day for her, and they live happily ever after. And there's a little theme to these shows, isn't there? And then I saw one that takes place on an aircraft carrier, and she's on the aircraft carrier visiting her sister and finds a flyer, and they live happily ever after. So yeah, we've been watching a lot of Hallmark movie shows throughout the last couple of weeks. So doing a lot of that. So not watching The Stand, but doing that instead. We've also been watching. I got a funny one for y'all. The USS Lexington aircraft carrier served in World War II, the Gray Ghost or Blue Ghost, I think Blue Ghost, served in World War II. Well, now it's it's a museum down in Corpus Christi, which is 4 or 5 hours from us down south of here. And we've been to it several times. Well, we saw on TV, I don't know, not just real recently, Professional Bull Riders Association actually set up a rodeo arena on the deck of the aircraft carrier and brought in teams of bull riders. So I actually watched on an aircraft carrier a rodeo arena set up with a bunch of guys riding on bulls, getting thrown off into the dirt they had shipped in and everything else. And it's a lot of fun to watch. All I can think is how in the world did they get those bulls up onto that upper deck? Because uh, the ramps and everything go to lower decks. And in the old days, you had elevators that would lift the airplanes up. I'm not sure the elevators still work on that old aircraft carrier. But yeah, so we watched bull riding on a retired aircraft carrier. I think that's about as exotic as maybe you could get. It's so yeah, I am the master. My wife gives me a hard time because if I have the remote control, I can find channels on here that have shows that we've never even thought of, and give me access to some of the premium services, and I can certainly find some incredible, interesting shows. I watched the on the NHK channel, the Japanese channel. They got sumo out there. I've watched quite a bit of sumo. I kind of know the rules and some of the traditions of sumo as well. So I'd like to think that I don't know, eclectic, well-rounded. I don't know. I watch the wilder, the more interesting, the kind of stranger it is. I tend to watch it, and I enjoy all the international shows. So you'll never you catch me finding. I'll watch cricket on TV, Australian rules football. It's if it's a sport, they don't have to play it here in the states. I'll still watch it. I love them all. All right. Happy Festivus to you, Ma. So Parker just now finished watching a reality show from Japan called Susunu Danpa Shonen's, basically a real life version of the Truman Show. But the poor person couldn't leave the room. I saw one like that, Parker, where it was a guy. What was it? He was put in a room. This is quite a while back. He could only use what he won or what he had mailed to him, and he would fill out all these sweepstakes entry all day long. All they gave him was pen and paper, and he would just fill out all day long entries and win things. Like one time he won a couple of pounds of sushi and things like that. Otherwise, it was just the most basic staples of food. At one point, I think he won like a TV set, but they shipped it to him. But then he realized it didn't have the antenna and he couldn't pick anything up. I don't know, some things like that. I used to watch a show called Endurance, which was they'd start off with 100 people and they'd make them go through just horrible things. Hold on to a log while we drag you across this old rock field. And once 20 people have let go, then the last 80, y'all move on to the next round and things like that. Yeah. Some of the Japanese game shows are just brutal. They get away with things that you could never get away with over here, and kind of makes it fun to watch. But some of the pranks they play on people and some of the events they do, it's always interesting when you watch the Japanese game shows. All right, Cliff is a sumo wrestler. Yeah, well, Ma, I don't have that far to go. Well, I'm not going to say that. I got a long way to go compared to some of those the sumo wrestlers. You got to eat a lot of seaweed to get to the athletic fit level that some of those sumo wrestlers have. And I say that kiddingly, but yeah, those guys, they're huge and they're large, and it's a different, a lot of body fat and all that. But those guys are athletes. The way they leverage those bodies and everything, it's actually. I know there's athletics to it, and I know there's strategy to it that I'm probably not even really an expert in. I'm not an expert at all. But it's still fun to watch. Uh, so let's see what else. Yeah. Who says A&M's kind of screwed out of the playoffs? Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, A&M didn't make the playoffs this year, but we're playing in the Orange Bowl, so that's all right. I'll take that. Playing North Carolina, University of North Carolina, in the Orange Bowl. All right, I'm gonna scoot up a little bit so I can read some of these comments because I'm not missing on purpose. All of these movies star Candace Cameron. Lawrence is saying there's certainly a very specific role character type that they have for these movies, and I've seen them all. I feel like let's see. All right, this. All right. Let's see. Crap. All these movies star Candace Cameron. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to catch up. Love the Hallmark movies, but they are very predictable. Yeah, Andy. They I can watch the first 2 or 3 minutes. when the stranger comes in the door and says hello, you pretty much know that's the what they call it, the cute meter or whatever. You know how the rest of the story's gonna go, but that's okay. It's still fun little entertainment to watch. It puts you in the right mood for Christmas and everything else. Um, all right, let's see. Andy's saying the USS Lexington. Just now, oh, reality show. Oh, where are you going? USS Lexington was in Pensacola when I was stationed there. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a training carrier. I've seen that before. I guess it was a commissioned ship until I don't know. You probably know better than I do, but I want to say what the 70s or the 80s. It was around for a long time, considering that it had fought Battle of the Coral Sea and all that. There have been several versions of the Lexington, but the one there is, yeah, I knew it was a trainer system for a long time. It was fun. We went actually with my son's Boy Scout, spent the night on the ship. Here's the most fun that they did while on the ship. They told ghost stories. So at night they got all these Boy Scouts, and I say Boy Scouts, and some 18-year-olds, but you had a lot of 14, 13, all the way down to 12, 11, 10. The Cub Scouts were there as well. And they brought them all up into the front, the bow of the ship, a couple of levels down. It's where the anchor chains are and everything. And brought them up, piled them all around while an old rough sailor told some stories designed to scare these kids to death. And right when he was getting some of the most dramatic parts of the stories, there were people who would drop these old heavy chains in a stairwell just outside this room. And so they're telling the story, all of a sudden you're and it's banging all the way down the stairs. Kids jumping up, running to their dads, screaming and hollering. Probably lost half those scouts before they got through at the end of the story. And of course, us dads, we're sitting there laughing, just because all these scouts, they're all trying to show off for each other. So I'm not going to be scared. That's ghost story. I've heard ghost story. I'm not going to be scared. Yeah, there were some scared scouts during those ghost stories. Those sailors knew how to tell some stories. There were some storytellers. Uh, all right, now Angie, what's this story here? I'm going to scoot down a little bit and see that you've got some connections to the Hallmark stories. I'm gonna find it right at cross track. Theme to every Hallmark story: girl goes back home, runs into boy from her past, who brings the Christmas spirit back to her soul. They kiss, fall in love, and have a dog. There you go. Cross track. You could be writing some scripts. I think we there may be some slots to you got to figure it out. Just insert, come up with some little cute background theming to it. Christmas tree farm, candy cane factory. And we got to figure it out. Now we just have to hire the actors, the actresses, and you're saying, yeah, Cody was on one of the Hallmark movies. He talked about that during All Stars, which is kind of funny. All right, sorry, this is skipping past me a little bit. All right, Angie, my sister and brother-in-law are in the same Hallmark movie together. Dater's Handbook. It was risky because they are an interracial couple, also in real life. Really? Well, good. I mean, good for Hallmark. I'm glad they're expanding out a little bit and uh, doing some more real life type situations, everything else. But I'm gonna have to look for this particular movie. We'll have to talk later about that. That's pretty cool. Dater's Handbook. Is that a new one or has that been out for a while? Because I don't recognize it. And now I got to say I don't necessarily remember the names of all the Hallmark movies that we watched. I kind of remember the plots, and once I watch it for a few minutes, I'll know. I am curious if I've seen that one before. We also saw one that's Hanukkah lights, I think, a little bit. So, they're all Christmas movies. A lot of them are Christmas movies, but they also have Hanukkah, and now they've got this one as well. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to watch out for that one. All right. Let's see. Thank you, Angie. Every time I talk to Angie Hung, she tells me something new that amazes me that I've never heard before. Angie, you got to try out for some reality shows. You get in front of these casting people, they would be enthralled by some of the stories that you can tell. Trust me, I know. All right, Parker, there was a show called Kid Nation that made me sick to my stomach. Parker, I watch Kid Nation. I watched them pick on some of those little kids and threaten them, and little kids crying because they wanted to go home, and the older kids said, you can't go home. You got to vote for me, or you got to get your golden coin or whatever. I don't know what went through someone's mind that they actually got that thing on TV. You wouldn't get it nowadays because it was tough. And that's the reason, they've talked about on Survivor dropping the age from Survivor from 21 down to 18, 16. I'm not sure what, but bringing in a lot younger than than they have right now. And I've always kind of been against that. And I've heard talk for Big Brother as well. I don't think it's serious talk, but having like a teen version of Big Brother, I'm opposed to it. The emotional stress, some of the cutthroat, the brutality that you see in some of these games. If you're adults, then we should have thick skin if we agree to go on the show and you deal with it and all of that. But at a younger age, I would have a hard time watching someone get betrayed, backstabbed, lied to their face. Some of the things that we see happen, I have a hard time seeing someone at a lot younger age having to deal with that. And so I'm perfectly fine with the age limits that those shows have on right now. I don't want to see teen versions of some of these games that, for entertainment purposes, sometimes bring out some of the worst of people's behavior in order to advance you in the game and everything else. So yeah, but Kid Nation, Parker, one season, and I'm amazed it made it all the way through because I don't think it got a lot of good press at the time from people watching. I think the critics just raked it across the coals. They didn't like it at all. So yeah, I do remember Kid Nation very well. All right, they did Teen Big Brother in the Philippines. I've actually seen one episode of Big Brother in the Philippines, Lawrence, and it was funny because it was so low budget. It was like a challenge was they were in a room and they had little round circles that they had to throw in front of them and jump from circle to circle, and it just looked like somebody just set it up in their backyard and stuff. But it's still fun to watch. I didn't watch a lot of it. I don't even know how, a little clip on YouTube or something. So again, if it's a reality show, I've probably seen at least a little bit of a clip of it at some point in time. Joshy P, I want a Teen Big Brother. I want a shot. Joshy, you're gonna get a shot. You may just have to wait just a little bit longer. And I will say this: I know that there are teens who could absolutely handle the pressure, the mental stress, everything else. I'm just worried that you wouldn't have 16 teenagers that have been picked because they can handle that. There'd be too much incentive, too much uh, people wanting to bring in some people that maybe couldn't handle it quite as well. And I don't want to see meltdowns on TV. But Joshy, all right, you may not be eligible for Big Brother just yet. That doesn't mean that you won't get your chance. Just sit tight. Trust me. Hey, I started watching Big Brother 20 years ago. Everyone that was on my season was too young to play. Most of them were too young to play just 10 years ago. Just 5 years ago. I felt so old in that house at times. So yeah, all of them grew up watching Amazing Race and Big Brother and everything else, and said, "Oh, I'm not old enough to do it." But they eventually got there and got on the show, and so you'll get your chance as well. Big Brother's not going anywhere, not for a while. I hope not. I don't think it is. And if it does, there'll be something else that follows along behind it. Amanda saying, "Do you have nightmares about the game after Big Brother?" Uh, yeah, yeah. No, I still do. Not as much as when I first got out of the house. When I first got out of the house, Amanda, every night it was just my brain kind of just regurgitating, processing through everything that happened. I had a lot of, not all nightmares, but every night it was dreams about in the house and having not dreams that I'm having to make some big selection or I'm having to compete in some challenge that makes a huge difference and everything. I still have them every once in a while, but it's not all the time. Once a month, something like that. Once every few weeks, maybe I'll have some little dream like that. But yeah, there are certainly little mental echoes that stay inside for quite a while. That eventually you just kind of get out of your system and move on. But at the start, when I first got out, there was some definite decompression time of, I don't know, a month or so where I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and then you move on and it's okay. All right. How do you watch Big Brother in different countries? Paul saying. Paul, the Big Brother Australia, which I watched, we watched on, we've got an Amazon Fire Stick, and there's an app called Cody that lets you pull in shows from a lot of different countries and all of that. So I use that. The Philippines Big Brother, little clip I saw, it wasn't but 10 minutes long, and I think it was probably on YouTube or just some website or something. But there's also, I think, Survivor Australia you can find on Cody, and I don't know. It's you never know what you'll find. There's a lot of them out there. All right, let's see. Have you ever thought of going on Tough as Nails? Josh, he's asking. Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, you could get me. I didn't do it like I used to, but when I first was working in an oil field, man, I was grabbing the pipe. I had a big old 5.5 inch, 7 inch casing and slamming it into pipes and screwing it in and running tong, which involves slamming big pieces of equipment on a pipe and screwing it together and everything. So I I would have been well suited from a physical standpoint for Big Brother back then. I was in pretty good shape. You have to run up and down all those steps on those old field platforms and all of that. So yeah, I could probably go on tough as nails, and I'd be who was the roofer last season? There were a couple of people last season who were a little bit older than the average age. The baggage handler, I forgot what her name was. They are having a season 2 of Tough as Nails, if you haven't heard. Yeah, I could go on. There's some younger guys who probably they be a little faster than me at times, and maybe a little stronger every once in a while. But I don't put anything past having a lot of heart and a lot of determination. That overcomes a lot of differences in strength and endurance and everything else. So yeah, I'd have fun going on Tough as Nails. That'd be a lot of fun as well. So yeah, they're doing season 2, maybe season 3. I'll check into it. Lawrence is saying Tim from Big Brother Australia is a lot of fun to watch. I don't know the names. I haven't seen a lot of episodes over there. Russell Hantz was on Big Brother or Survivor. You're talking Big Brother Australia. I'm talking Survivor. Russell was on Survivor Australia, and I've met Russell a few times. He lives down here in Houston, so we talked about it, and I've seen a few. Yeah, Tim, Big Brother Survivor. I mean, Big Brother Australia was a lot of fun. There's a guy named Daniel, I think. And Ian. I don't remember the names now, but they had some interesting characters. What's funny is after Big Brother Australia finished up, I reached out to a lot of those contestants over there and said, "Hey, I was on Big Brother USA. We watched your season. You're a lot of fun." And a lot of them responded. We talked back and forth about their house and my house, and just kind of said howdy to each other and all that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. All right, let's see. Carl Johnson, Big Brother Canada was the worst season, but the winner wasn't bad. You know what? I think Big Brother 7 happened while I was inside or happened right as I was crying out and getting ready to go into the my Big Brother house. So I saw the first half of the season and I missed the rest of it because I was busy doing something else. Let's see. Ma, the entire cast of older people. I want Jerry from Big Brother 10 back. Jerry was a lot of fun to watch. Can you believe Jerry was 73 years old when he went on Big Brother, and he won some competitions. Now, Big Brother 10 was a little bit different from my season. I think that we had more physical challenges my season than back then, and they had more competitions back then that didn't rely just on absolute strength and everything else. But Jerry played a good game. He got little hot under the collar at times. They were him running around yelling, "You're Jezebel." He was upset with Dan and all that. But Jerry was a lot of fun to watch. There's so many characters over Big Brother, from Big Brother over the years I've enjoyed watching, and Jerry was certainly one of them. All right, let's see what else. Joshy, thought to share. Love Russell Hanson's channel. Moss says I did a couple of podcasts with him. But yeah, we hung out together. Karishma from Survivor had a viewing party here in Houston, and she and Carl Boudreau, the Godfather from Survivor, the two of them had a viewing party, and Russell and I went over there as well, and I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. Let's see. Big Brother was so predictable. There's no enthusiasm in 7. Yeah, I need to go back and watch some of the old Big Brother Canada episodes because it's been a while and I haven't watched them all yet. All right, I can't believe it's 7:54, guys. Just talking away. I had a few talking. Well, I guess we covered a lot of them. All right, so I've got 2 more. I didn't get far in my notes before we moved on to other things. Throw out 2 days in history so you can surprise people with your little trivia knowledge. I didn't hit it earlier. All right, y'all ready? We've talked about reality show. I'm going to change it just a little bit. On this day in 1937, the first feature-length, fully animated movie premiered. Do y'all know what that movie was? I'll let you sit on that for a second, but not too long because it's already 7:55 here in Houston. The first movie, full-length animated movie, 1937, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Can you believe it? 83 years ago, Snow White premiered. It came back. We took our kids when they were little. It came back to the movie theaters, and they still love it. Still, the Whistle While You're the songs from that movie are still so iconic, so fantastic. All right. Also, in 1891, the very first basketball game ever played was played by 18 students using James Naismith's rules up in, I want to say, New York. I could be wrong on the state, but 1891. So what are we, 129 years since basketball originated? Long time. Someone asked last week, and I may not have had a chance to answer the question. who's my favorite NBA team? Well, it's got to be the Rockets, Houston. I'll cheer for Houston, but I haven't followed them as much with COVID and the shortened season. I just couldn't get into it. So I'm ready now as they're getting started again. I'll get back into it. But I kind of missed last season, but it's definitely the Rockets. All right. Merry Christmas to you as well, Carl. And Snow White. Yeah, it's such a classic. I love it. I loved it. How did, can you picture? I mean, we're so tempered. We've seen so many films that have such amazing special effects nowadays. You even look at Star Wars back in 76, 77, and even those special effects seem a little cheesy based on what we've got now, which is so incredible. But can you picture back in 1937? This is before World War II had even started, in the middle of the Depression, all that. That you go in there and you see suddenly all this color on the screen, and you hear that music, and you see this film going on. It had to just blow people away. You had Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and then a couple of years later, you had The Wizard of Oz, which was all in color and an actual movie, you know, with actresses and everything instead of the animated. Those movies, just such trendsetters, such groundbreaking movies. So it'd be fun to watch people's reactions from back then and see how amazed they were when they watched that. Disney was a huge game changer, absolutely, Lawrence. And not only, you think of Disney, not only the movies and everything else, but just the whole idea of theme parks and entertainment. And now they own everything in media, right? They own ABC, they own ESPN. They pretty much just own. If you watch on TV, you probably watch it. Speaking of, someone's asking what I've watched. I'm getting a lot of recommendations saying I got to watch season 2 of The Mandalorian. I've watched the first season. I haven't even touched the second season yet, so that's on my list as well. I'll try to binge that before too long. But I've heard great things about that. I've been told just for the ending alone, I need to watch it without any spoilers because I don't know what it is. But I've been told that I need to watch it. So yeah, I just keep adding things to my list. They need to put me back in a Big Brother house and give me a TV. I may get booted quick because I won't be strategizing. I'll just be watching all these binge shows that, well, I'll have a week before I actually go in the house, so I can binge everything I never have time for otherwise. Lori, I love this channel. Thanks, everyone. So good to meet some cool people. Lori, the most cool people are the ones commenting right there on those sides. The benefit I've had of getting to meet so many people from around the world, the Big Brother family, it's just so cool. The best part of being on that show. I had fun while I was in the house, but when I came out, it's been incredibly cool. So I agree with you. Cool people in here, and I'm including you in that as well, Lori. Thank you for coming out also. Angie saying, I love YouTube, get to watch so many shows. But Angie, YouTube is dangerous. It's a black hole. I watch one video and it leads me to another video, and before you know it, 4 hours are gone. And Sharon saying, what'd you watch? I don't know. I just watched 4 hours worth of 10-minute clips of a lot of very weird things that I would have never thought to look at them on. I just went into that rabbit hole. So, all right, let's see. Amanda season finale 2, so good, Lawrence. I'm hearing that from everyone, so I'm gonna have to check it out. All right, guys, it's 8 o'clock, so we're gonna have to shut it down for now. It's Christmas time, and 2 days from now, it's Christmas Eve. 3 days, it's Christmas, guys. Everyone be safe. Everyone have a great Christmas. I hope you, whether with COVID and everything else that's going on, for those of you that are with family and friends, hug them and be happy for it. Those of you who aren't, call, talk. It's you're not alone in that. And for those of you, yeah. Everyone, call and talk to your friends. Make sure everyone's doing all right. Have a fantastic Christmas. Stay safe. Stay warm. And we will be back again. We'll talk about what's going on. Talk about what happened with Christmas and everything else. Guys, Merry Christmas to y'all. Happy Hanukkah. Festivus for the rest of us. Remember, tomorrow night. Y'all have a great one, guys. I'll talk to y'all again soon. Cheers, my friends. Bye. Oh. SKD 143. Almost forgot. Bye, guys.